Get right, gang. What it do? It's your boy Get Right Tez, man. Today I'm coming at y'all with another reaction video, man. Today we got the safest cities in America for 2020, man. We're gonna get right to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it.
A long time ago, Americans had nothing to worry about. There weren't shootings. People didn't steal to satisfy their drug habits. You didn't get punched for expressing your political beliefs. Kids, believe it or not, we used to be able to stay out after dark, and our parents didn't really have to worry about us at all.
At all.
Now, you don't ever see kids outside at all.
At all.
Part of that's because kids are lazy and they stare at their phones all day. But a lot of that's because parents are worried about crime.
Yeah.
Anyways, we could go on and on about that, but we won't. This video is about safe places and safe cities.
So
The places in America where you can walk around safely in. That's exactly what we're going to do for this video. Safely walk through the safest cities in our country, one by one. So, get ready to let your guard down. These are the safest cities in America for 2020.
safest cities in America. We're gonna skip all that.
No trash, no attitude. I bet there hasn't been a gun fired on this street once. Fireworks or gunshots, those would definitely be fireworks around here. This is Glendale, California. This is nowhere near the ghetto hoods of Los Angeles, although it is in Southern California. Remember the movie E.T.? That's sort of what Glendale's like.
Wow.
There were a total of 202 violent crimes here last year, and there was one murder here during a drive-by shooting at a restaurant. It was apparently tied to an Armenian gang, but that's it. Glendale has just over 200,000 people, and you can see the breakdown of the type of violent crimes here. Let's compare Glendale to our nation's most dangerous city, Memphis, Tennessee, to kind of put things into perspective. In Memphis, the population is 3 times as large, but there have been 6 times as many violent crimes, including 186 murders to Glendale's 1. And look at all the property crimes in comparison to Glendale. That'll set the tone for the rest of this video. Our next safest city is Allen, Texas, a Dallas suburb. We can walk around here pretty safely too. Now, this whole region up here north of Dallas is perhaps the safest region in the entire country for any area where there's actually a bunch of people. Allen has just over 100,000 people, and there were only 111 total violent crimes here last year. Most of those were assaults. There's only been 5 murders here in the last 20 years, which is awesome. Allen has a small town feel where sports, especially football, is the focus of community pride. While in cities like St. Louis, you might have a 1 in 20 chance of being the victim of a crime, here in Allen, that number is 1 in 1,200. A real big difference. We don't have to walk too far to get to our next safest city.
St. Louis,
that's because we're in Frisco, another.
I heard St. Louis got a ride with they music like low as heck. You can't even just drive in traffic regularly.
The next door in Allen, but they're basically the same. Safety is the main draw for families who are fleeing their ghetto states, which is why, collectively, all of these Dallas suburbs are just about the fastest growing region in the nation. And the big reason Texas is one of the fastest growing states.
Right.
It's not too often that you see people roaming the streets with spray cans, baseball bats, and fireworks here. People in Texas just won't put up with it. Welcome to the very walkable at night Gilbert, Arizona, the 7th safest place you can live in America. Of course, Gilbert isn't as densely populated as nearby Phoenix is, so you'd expect a lower crime rate. But look at New Mexico and Alaska. There's hardly anyone in those states, and they're the most dangerous states in the country. As we'll discover later, it's not the number of people who live in a place which determines crime levels, it's the type of people. In Gilbert, you have a 1 in 1,200 chance of being the victim of a crime, which is crazy low, and it's getting lower too. Gilbert's also one of the fastest growing big cities in the U.S. Back in 1980, there were only 5,000 people here. Now there's 250,000 people here. We seem to be seeing a trend here so far. This whole out-of-control large cities thing that sprung up this summer where police are quitting or being laid off and where citizens are allowed to do whatever they want, well, that's backfiring on community growth. People are sick of it. Some of our nation's fastest shrinking cities are our most dangerous, and our fastest growing cities are our safest. And you can bet that families who flee big, ghetto, dangerous cities to settle in places like Gilbert will never go back to those chaotic situations again. Back to Southern California we go, and not even for the last time. For all of the grief I give California, there's actually a lot of places here that are really safe. You just have to know where to look. It looks really safe here, so I think we can let our collective guards down. In nearby Los Angeles, 1 in 130 people is a victim of a violent crime. In Thousand Oaks, that number is 1 in 750. It's not just Thousand Oaks, though. This whole corridor here in western LA County and in eastern Ventura County has always been a great place to raise
next to
families.
Los Angeles.
Most people have good jobs, the communities in this part of the state are invested in making their neighborhoods better, and the police are treated with respect. Thousand Oaks is the only city on this list that's not seeing a huge population growth. That's for 2 reasons. The main reason is there just isn't anywhere else to put homes in. It's surrounded by mountains which go up in flames every summer. But the other reason, people with scruples are leaving the state for various reasons.
Is that why they had
All the way across
wildfires?
the LA basin is the desert community of Murrieta, located in Riverside County. You can walk around here at night and you won't hear sirens or loud parties or booms and bangs, just crickets and snoring. Violent crimes are the 4th lowest in the country, where you have a 1 in 250 chance of being the victim of even a basic property crime. In fact, most years, there's only a handful of violent crimes reported in the city limits at all. So you can bet Murrieta has a pretty bored police department, or at least a relieved police department. You probably aren't surprised to find an Idaho city on this list. That's because Idaho is one of a few states with the majority of Americans that still value honesty, hard work, and respect. I know I sound like our grandparents, but it's true. Meridian is a Boise suburb where violent crimes and property crimes are about half the national average, but it's not the same type of crimes here as you would see in some of our worst places to live, that's for sure. But is it just the morals of the community that make places like Meridian and Idaho so safe? Mostly. But the other side of the coin is the law enforcement aggression. Cops don't mess around here, fella. Idaho's prisons are over capacity. So much so that they have to ship offenders to prisons in other states. There's no catch and release in this state. But law enforcement isn't heartless in Idaho, though.
What?
If a catch and release in this, so much so that they have to ship offenders to prisons in other states. There's no catch and release in this state. But law enforcement isn't heartless in Idaho, though.
So you can't even be
In fact,
released
last
back
Christmas, police officers in Boise handed
until
out
Idaho.
chocolate
So like you
bars
just gone.
instead of traffic tickets. Can you imagine if Baltimore cops handed out candy instead of tickets? People in Baltimore would run lights just for the free snacks.
Right.
And residents in Idaho don't mess around either. Just recently, there was a rumor that out-of-state protesters were planning to wreak havoc on a small Idaho community. Residents stood guard and ran them out of town. Good for you, Idaho.
Oh wow.
I'm making this quick video because it has been 1 month since joining the Cashflow 101 system.
Our last stop in California brings us to the famously safe community of Irvine, right in the middle of Orange County. It's a fairly wealthy white community where people aren't drive-by shooting or robbing for drugs. Irvine actually had the lowest number of shootings in the nation last year. 0. And it has the lowest number of police officers per capita too, at 9 per 10,000 people. That's because people in Irvine know how to act like adults. The only reason Irvine doesn't win as the nation's safest city is property crimes here are actually higher than the last 2 cities, like in Cary, North Carolina. This Raleigh suburb has seen only 8 murders in the last 20 years, which is super low for a booming city of nearly 200,000 people. The only reason Cary didn't rank as the safest place in America is, again, the number of property crimes, primarily thefts. But 1,300 thefts in a city this large for the whole year means that every day only 4 things are taken. In Philadelphia, 4 things are stolen every second. And in which American community can you remain the safest? In Naperville, Illinois, a Chicago suburb. But this is nothing like Chicago. In Chicago, there were 105 murders and 584 shooting victims in July alone. In Naperville, there were only 163 burglaries for the entire year. So, on average, Chicago sees 3 murders a day, and Naperville has 2 thefts a day. That's about as big a difference in crime as you'll see in this country. And these places are only like 30 miles apart.
Wow.
But why is this? How can there be such a big difference in crime, only 30 miles apart? Wealth, primarily. Naperville is the 11th wealthiest city in the country. As a result, the schools are great, and there's parks and other amenities that make it peaceful.
Everything's
Even the
probably
public
private.
libraries are the best in the nation. Chicago, on the other hand, is a very poor place, so residents here are more desperate and frankly don't have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
Every city we talked about today is a well-to-do community with wealth and success. Does not having money really make people violent? Yes. Research has shown that poverty and crime are closely correlated, and for a few reasons. The poor are more likely to have a mental illness. Poverty can lead to high levels of stress, which can lead to committing violent acts. The poor often only have access to bad schools, which sets them on a pathway to remain poor. Violent crime was going down in America before the summer of 2020, and there's a big debate about defunding the police. But the bigger issue isn't enforcing crime, it's addressing the income gap and trying to raise people out of poverty so they aren't incentivized
So
to
we
commit
all
crimes to
just, you
begin
know
with.
what I'm saying?
The end.
Who's straight?
Big news.
Hey man, it's gonna cap up the video, man. Make sure you like, share, subscribe if you are new. I'm gonna holler at y'all later, man. Peace.